Hi guys, welcome to Astrology and Earth Magic. I'm Jen and I'm here to provide a little astrological wisdom to really understand what we're facing with Uranus moving into the sign of Gemini. And this is coming up on the 7th, so this Monday, and it's going to be at 3:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this is the last of our outer planet ingresses into the next sign, and I'm including Saturn in on that too. So pretty much they've all have made their change, and that's what makes this so powerful, is they're all making moves. And it's really just, I know you've heard astrologers talk about this, really getting ready for a brand new future that's just on the horizon. And this is going to start our evolution towards that. And, of course, this isn't going to be easy. Uranus does, we'll see some disruption, some eruptions, some revolutions. Ultimately, hopefully everything will, fall into place, but it's not going to be easy, like I said. So I thought we'd come out here and do the video by my little outdoor Zen altar, just to bring a little Zen to the moment, because I think we're all going to need it. Now, since Pluto's moved into Aquarius, we've begun this ascent. And it's like we're going up a roller coaster, up that very first hill, and it's just chink, 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 chink. And along the way, we've seen a little different hints and glimpses. It's almost like little flashes of what the future is going to hold for us. Innovations in AI, that's become huge. I've seen chips that can help people to walk when they couldn't, to hear, to see. They're talking about maybe even finding something that can cure cancer. I mean, there's so many new inventions and innovations on the horizon that could change the world, and we're just starting to dip our foot into it a little bit. The Pluto in Aquarius is the whole world just transforming before our eyes, and it's one new invention at a time. Next, we saw Saturn and Neptune move into Aries. Neptune was first, and then Saturn. We saw the struggles with borders, and because we have, laws in question, we have judgments against, what it's said in the Constitution, or, how people are interpreting the Constitution. Saturn is, securing the border. So if you kind of look at it that way, but they're coming into conjunction with each other. So they're kind of beginning very opposite type of energies, Saturn and Neptune. So we have Saturn about securing the border, putting up walls, pretty much leading these deportations of those who cross illegally, and kind of like the hammer of the law coming down, and like, this are the rules and this is the way it's going to go. And this is moving closer in that conjunction to Uranus. Now Uranus is Neptune is very different, because Neptune wants to dissolve those borders. And that's, I think, why we've seen so much of this crisis, so much of this back and forth. We've seen it with protests, with, judges turning over executive orders again, of the deportation, saying like, oh, this was unjustified, trying to bring them back. So you see that really like accepting and just welcoming of Neptune, just, just come on in. We don't have any borders. We're going to knock them down. But then Saturn's like, no, this, we need to have this. We need to have strict laws. So we see how they're kind of coming into conjunction. They're working together, but it's also very combative. Now we're coming up to that pinnacle. Uranus moving into Gemini. It's ready to just start descending with lightning speed. So it is in Gemini for a little while. It's in signs for about 8 years. So this is going to be a process, but you want to get ready. Are you buckled in, or are you pulling the brakes, trying to get that little roller coaster car to stop because you're not ready? You just want to be open to the change, feel the change, and let yourself just kind of go with the flow, because there's really nothing you can do about it. And fear is, I think, what causes a lot of this animosity with the protests and all this thing. I think people just don't understand, and they don't know what's going to happen, because everyone can feel the change. Even if you aren't into astrology, I think everyone can feel the change on the horizon. So Uranus has been in the fixed sign of Taurus. Of course, it's uncomfortable there. it doesn't like to be kind of kept in one place. It feels restrained and wants to break free because it's all about like freedom and like liberation. But it's going to be reborn again in that youthful, mutable energy of Gemini. Now, it's going to be, could feel like just like a lightning bolt, just ready to energize, ready to disrupt, and ready to just cause a revolution. And it's unstoppable momentum that's going to be starting that, you know, towards this complete transformation. So we could be getting through the hardest part, but it's still, we're moving to that transformation. But now we're going to see things starting to take hold and starting to, like, you know, here's this change, you know, and these things are going to start happening. I know one of these big bills just got passed. A lot of things going on right now. So a lot of people are just really unsure of what's going to happen for the future. This is what I mean about you just kind of try and go with the flow, kind of sit on the outside, go to your little, make a Zen altar for yourself outside, and, you know, try and find some peace if you're feeling really uncomfortable. So we have that realist Saturn, again, restricting and cautious, but it's practical, it's disciplined, it's climbing the, you know, to success with, you know, forming a good foundation in Aries. So things are going to be built, and it's going to take time to form right, so that you know you're on a good foundation. And that's along with these visions that Neptune has. This is how these two planets are going to be working together instead of against each other. Neptune's visions, the evolution of mind and spirit coming together, and Uranus then causing that disruption, just causing that spur. And then we have Jupiter in Cancer, and that is coming together after crisis. And there have been a lot of different crises going on around the world, and a lot of things are happening. Could not be the end of it. I think this weekend's going to be kind of a firecracker, you know, not to just be so pun-like, I guess. But Pluto in Aquarius is working to transform the world to a higher level. So it's not about just a change, but it's kind of like it is like an evolution of body and soul, which is going to hopefully transform the world for the better. And they are still, all these outer planets are in a nice, like a mini short sextile triangle with each other, which I think just really just shows like they're working together through all these transitions into the next sign in a harmonizing way, so that things will end up being, you know, hopefully a utopia when this is all said and done. But again, you know, it's like a roller coaster. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to be terrifying when you're going down that hill at such crazy speeds. So Uranus and Gemini. So let's focus on that one a little bit. Uranus is revolution. It's breaking free, desire for independence. It's individuality and freedom, liberation, breaking from the old ways, innovations in science and technology, but it is unpredictable. And it can cause huge disruptions in making the changes that it wants to make, and really upheavals that, you know, just throws a wrench into everything. You just never know how it's going to react. Then we have Gemini. So Gemini is busy, it's restless, it's constantly just consuming all the information it can, and it's just got that youthful excitement that's just like, I want to know more, I want to do more, I want to all this stuff. I can't get enough. Yet it can also be unpredictable. So these signs are both kind of like when you get two fire signs together. I don't know if you've ever known two fire signs that have dated and they're just so fiery, and it's like you think it goes together, but like, it's a little bit much. So these can be a little bit much. They can be unpredictable, like mood swingy almost. It's the duality of Gemini. It's when you don't know the truth from, you know, gossip or made up facts. And kind of looking back in history, we kind of see that a little bit too, and what's going on in the United States right now with, you know, everything against each other, and, you know, this one saying this and this one saying this. No one knows really what the truth is. You just hope that you're learning, you know, hope that you're seeing through it. Gemini is a very social sign. it's communication, it's friendly and chatty, it's ruled by Mercury, but it also can be that secret leaker. And we've seen that kind of stuff happening too a lot. Think that can even happen more, hopefully not to detriments of things. So what you want to do to kind of, most of us have not lived through this. My mother was born back when Uranus was in Gemini. Oh, my cat's messing on my mother was born with Uranus in Gemini in her chart. So she's been through it, but most of us have no idea what it's like. And I'm sure she doesn't remember anyway. She was just born with it. But so looking back at the history and what things, big things were going on in the world with that can kind of show what to expect with its ingress in this time. So Uranus will be in Gemini until May 2033. So it's going to, of course, dip back into Taurus a little bit in November and then returning back April 2026. So as with most of the outer planet ingresses, you get a little bit of a glimpse of what's going to happen. Nothing's going to just get finalized overnight. So this is just like a little preview. Okay, get ready, because this is what we're going to be expecting to happen. So we're going to have that little glimpse. So pay attention to everything that's kind of in that realm of that Uranus, like science, technology, communication and things like that. Pay attention to that and everything that's going on, and so we get to around that retrograde back when we in November about try and see the truth, try and see through that duality, because there's those butting heads. It's that Gemini, and that's sometimes being deceptive. And again, we've seen that in the past and we see it currently now. So Uranus, like I said, takes approximately, it takes 84 years to go around the whole zodiac. So that's about 8 years per sign. So we'll take advantage of this time to adapt to all these changes, because it's going to be hard. It's going to be a lot different than what we're used to. And by about 2024, when Pluto finally changes signs, the last of the outer planets to change signs, I think the world will be just kind of like a different place. I think that kids that are born, like now and in the near future, will not know what it was like, what we know, what we'll remember. So maybe you look back on videos like this so we can remember what the world was all about. But what can it really mean? So let's look back at the history of it. So we have right now going on, we have two brewing wars that can, who knows, cause World War III perhaps. And then, or is there going to be, peace in the Middle East? What's going to be this huge thing that's going to happen? We see it, but we don't know what it's going to be. We can't just even begin to imagine. It's going to be a complete shift, I think, in our consciousness with the changes in society, how we interact with each other. So most recently, the most recent transit of Uranus in Gemini was back from 1941 to 1948. So August 1941 to October 1948. Before that was June 1859 to February 1866. Before that was June 1774 to April 1782. Do any of those years kind of sound familiar if you were a big history buff? I guess you don't even have to be that big of a history buff, but it's themes. I'll explain them. Themes of splitting apart and then coming back together. So division and then reuniting. It's reuniting though completely different, as a completely different entity. Untrustworthy news came out. We have a lot of propaganda, and Gemini is that sign that is ruled by Mercury, who can be known as the trickster. And and this is how we receive our information, how we process this information, how we interact with each other, and how it can really be deceitful, maybe, that can they'll be deceitful to get the end result they want. We see this in elections all the time where they're saying, you know, horrible things about this side, horrible things about this side. But it's really just to get the end result that they want. So you have to, again, see through it so you can see the truth. But I think with each one, they're all just revolutionary, each with ideas and visions of a perfect society. And I think that's what everyone really wants, but everyone's idea of that perfect society is different. So the most recent, again, was August 1941 to 1948. What happened then? We had World War II. The world divided, and it was between the two major alliances, which were the Allies and the Axis powers. So it was like half the world were in the Axis, half the world were in the Allies. And so you see that division. We also had race riots going on in Detroit. So we see division. We see a lot of things around racial lines also within these times. We see divided, we see wars. We also see innovations in technology, you know, starting back then. This was actually, you know, when they created the atomic bomb. So that was a innovation in technology that was used in the war, and it was dropped on Hiroshima in 1945. So they invented this bomb and then used it in this time frame. So when you think of bombs, you think of like Uranus, because it's that sudden just jolt that you know changes everything. We also saw in that time the Holocaust. Jewish people made to be the enemy. So Jewish people in Germany were made to, and a lot of European states or countries were made to be the enemy. And this was due to news and propaganda put out by Hitler, pretty much, just spewing hate. And so you can see that, you know, along with it's just the regular division of the war going on and the Axis and Allied powers, you see the division of something due to race. So it's that racism again. So it's like you have the race wars in Detroit, but you also have this horrible event going on because of the brainwashing they did that led society to believe that led to this genocide, that believed that these people were evil just because they were Jewish, and it led to killing of approximately 6 million Jewish men, women, and children in horrifying ways. Of course, you don't want to revisit that, but again, these are themes that you see in history, and we also see, you know, big focus on Israel, Jewish, and the Muslim countries. We see that, you know, push and pull. We see that war brewing with Israel and Iran, and you know, so we still see that division because of race or religion going on there. So you see there where Gemini and Uranus and Gemini, it can spread that misinformation. It's in a cunning way, in a, you know, if you know, Geminis, they are so smart. They appear so smart. They appear so learned because they love getting all the information they can. But this can really show the cold and heartless side, and what spreading this misinformation or kind of that brainwashing can do. It makes people think that it's okay to just kill a whole race of people. It's not okay. Prior to that, we saw the transit of 1859 to 1866. What was that one all about? So again, the United States is at war. So the war was the Civil War. So the United States divided, the North against the South. And what caused this war? The South tried to say that this wasn't the main reason, but this is, you know, it was because the North wanted the slaves freed, but the South didn't. The South needed people that, you know, they mostly had plantations down there, and they needed people to work their fields. And so they wanted to keep slavery so they could have this, you know, pretty much free workers to do all this work for them so that they could, have thriving fields and thriving farms. So we see that division where the people of the North wanted them freed. Like, that's not fair. They should be making money. They should, get paid for what they're doing and not be forced to do it. So this is such a Uranian way that Abraham Lincoln, with the Emancipation Proclamation, freed the slaves. And he freed the slaves and abolished slavery with that, I think it was the 13th Amendment. So it's breaking free from old ways, breaking free from that, and freedom and liberation, all very Uranus themes. Another, we see the racial divide that we saw. Again, the ugly side popping its ugly head up, where the Ku Klux Klan was formed around this time. So the slaves are finally freed, but then we see that duality of this evil group that is just filled with hate for what reason, who knows, and they just decide to form a group that's just revolves around hate. So this is the ugly side that we see. So we see that duality there. You see something great, the slaves get freed, but then you see something like this. On a communicative innovation type, this the Pony Express came to being. So, and this was formed in about 1960 as a way of just spreading communication across the US faster. And I mean, you can't get more mercurial than that. It's, Mercury is about that messenger, and this is the Pony Express was that messenger that got the information to the new place. So that's innovation, Uranus, of, transporting information and transporting communication, Gemini, across the United States at a faster speed. But then, negative side, we also saw draft riots for those who wanted freedom. So again, we are seeing this freedom. So in the last transit, the Jews were put into camps, and they didn't have their freedom until finally at the end of the war, when the war was over, 1945, and they were released, the ones that actually did survive. But again, so the people in this transit, they fought against the draft. They didn't want to be drafted into the Civil War. They didn't want to be forced to fight for maybe something they didn't really believe in. And that is for freedom to make your own choices. And this ended up killing over 1,000 people. So again, people fighting for their freedom. Very big Uranian theme. Going back even further to the transit prior to that, was in 1774 to 1782. So those dates should sound really familiar to you. So something that we are about to actually celebrate tomorrow, and that is Independence Day. Can that sound any more Uranus in Gemini? It's independence. It's where we gain freedom from the British. It was, we see war again. So this is three transits back. Each transit, a huge, just metamorphosizing war takes place in the with the United States involved. In the first one that we go back to, the Revolutionary War, Civil War, and then World War II. Three of the most impactful events pretty much in history. But again, it's fighting for our freedom. So it was the United States fighting for freedom to be our own nation, to secede from England. Like the Emancipation Proclamation, it was freedom in written form with the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So again, we see that Gemini and Uranus. So freedom and, liberation, and just kind of written down, like made into a law. And this is that Gemini. It's just like, that communication, that, having something written on paper so that we can show it and teach generations thereafter. And we have another bomb reference actually way back then. So the first submarine attack on a British admiral ship, they attempted to attach a time bomb to the ship. And they attempted this a couple times. it didn't work out, and every time it failed. But again, you see that innovation in bombing. So the reason I kind of focused on that, now we didn't see that with the, so maybe it's in every other. Hopefully these bomb innovations are every other transit, because we didn't see it really in the last one. I really dug to see if there was anything. I didn't find anything. But what we're seeing now is, what went on, similar themes with bombs, with what went on in Iran, and how the US, tried to shut down Iran from making a nuclear bomb. And, to stop the progress of that. And, hopefully that, it wouldn't be used to destroy the world. And we don't know, because again, we're hearing contradictory information. We are hearing that it was only stopped for like a little bit, and they were even using it to make a bomb. They were just using it to, further their energy. But then we have the other side saying that they totally destroyed it, and they're never gonna have a nuclear program because they destroyed the nuclear program. So again, you see that duality, you see that coming up, and I think that's going to we're going to see it get worse and worse and worse, I think, with the propaganda, because, both sides are fighting to, be the leaders of the country. And so it kind of makes you think, okay, so does this transit historically mean that the US is destined to be in a war? I mean, I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But why is that? Like, what in the United States chart shows that it, shows that might be a thing? Well, if you pull the US Sibley chart, Gemini is in the US natal chart 7th house. That can refer to international affairs. It can refer to, known enemies, and even partnerships. So you look back at the past ones, especially you see that with World War II, you see partnerships with the Allies and the Axis powers. So you partnered up against your enemies. Same thing with, what went on in the Civil War. It's just like this one against this one. It's that duality, and then, coming together to, to fight. So we see that in the 7th house. So we know that Gemini is then moving into the 7th house of the United States, the one that could show that a war could happen. This chart also has natal Uranus at 8 degrees of Gemini. So eventually Uranus is going to conjunct the natal Uranus of the United States. And it's at 8 degrees, of course, because it's in a sign for 8 years. It's not going to be like next month, but it's going to slowly and gradually get closer and closer to that exact conjunction. So with that conjunction, they also, it's gone on every transit, and we've seen these big wars every transit, looking back as far as since the United States came into being. So that's why I went back 3. So also Jupiter natally for the United States is in Cancer, and transiting Jupiter we know is in Cancer, and will be at exact conjunction on the 4th of July, yes, Independence Day, tomorrow. So we have Jupiter conjunct Jupiter, something big, something huge. This would only happen every 12 years. So we'll have to wait and see. This whole weekend has a lot of flags of something big going to happen, because if you look back on a past video that I did that I discussed with Uranus being square to our president's ascendant, and that is going to be exact, I think, on the 7th. So that's going to be the end of this weekend, and we have Neptune going retrograde tomorrow on the 4th. Then we have this Jupiter conjunction in the US chart, with Neptune kind of going in reverse, so confusion and maybe pulling the wool over our eyes, maybe didn't see something quite right. So I think this weekend might be explosive on a whole different level than just fireworks. So I hope you guys all have your seatbelt, buckled because we don't know what's going to happen. But I think it's going to be really crazy these upcoming next few months, especially even this weekend. Hopefully everything will be okay. So make sure y'all stay safe, but have a great 4th of July weekend. Have some cookouts, have some family over, and just eat just hot dogs, hamburgers, and crap, and enjoy it. Enjoy the sun. Get out in the sun and just be with your families. Be happy. And of course, let me know what you think. Hit the comment and let me know what do you think is going to happen with the future? What do you think these transits mean? What do you hope these transits are going to mean? What do you hope is going to happen in the future? Also, be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, because this month we have so much going on. Oh, hi, it's Pickle. We have really a lot to talk about. We have the full moon coming up. We have everything going retrograde. So you guys gotta stay tuned, and I will see y'all soon. Bye.